Hi everyone, it's mystery author Ellie Alexander coming to you with this week's pages for A Brunch with Death, our bake shop mystery cozy collaboration. I am always so stunned that it comes together the way it does, and I am just floored by your ideas and your creativity. This week's question was maybe one of the best yet in terms of what you all came up with. As a quick recap, we have just learned that there is something in the sheetrock. So without further ado, let's get to it. I followed the professor to the kitchen. The police officer crouched down near the sink. Look here, sir. There's a piece of sheetrock that must have been replaced after a leak or something. Do you see how this section has been cut out? The professor bent over to see. Indeed. There's more. I noticed that a piece was sort of wedged between the studs, and when I pulled on it, it came loose. Take a look. I crept closer on my tiptoes to peer over the professor's shoulders. The police officer removed the section of sheetrock and pulled out a metal box. He handed it to the professor, who slid on a pair of blue plastic gloves. I held my breath as the professor lifted the lid to reveal an antique key and a wad of $100 bills. Interesting, the professor noted, examining the key. Bag this as evidence. We'll need to sweep it for prints. What do you think it means? I heard the words escape my lips before I could stop them. The professor turned to me and frowned. Lance, I wasn't aware that I extended you an invitation to join me. Sorry, I gave him a sheepish shrug. Curiosity got the best of me, but since I'm here, I do think I can be of service. How so? He handed the box to his colleague, who proceeded to enclose it in an evidence bag. I think I know where that key goes. He waited for me to continue. Are you familiar with the old bank vault that's hidden in the basement of A Rose by Any Other Name? It used to be operational many years ago, and if I'm correct, which I usually am, I believe that key belongs to a collection of safety deposit boxes next to the old vault. A Rose by Any Other Name was a boutique flower shop that sat next to Tort on the plaza. You could be onto something, Lance. Thank you for the suggestion. We'll look into it. But don't you think it might be a good idea to bring me along? I crossed my fingers. I am well versed in Ashland history, and I might be able to lend some additional insight. The briefest of smiles flashed across the professor's face. I would not wish any companion in the world but you. Well done, Professor. The Tempest is a favorite of mine, too. Before we left for the flower shop, the professor directed his team to continue searching the Mary Windsor and not to allow anyone to leave until he returned. We headed for the dining room together. He motioned to Juliet. Would you come with us for a moment? Juliet looked at me in confusion. I pretended not to know what was happening as I could feel Richard and Tony's eyes glaring at me. The professor didn't say a word until we were outside. I want you two to stay vigilant. I suspect that this case will come to a quick conclusion, but I could most certainly use another set or two of eyes. What happened? Juliet asked as we crossed past the Lithia bubblers. I filled her in. And you think the key opens one of the safety deposit boxes? She asked. There's only one way to find out. I pointed across the street where colorful bunches of fall flowers and foliage in burnt orange, mustard yellow, and maroon sat in buckets outside of A Rose by Any Other Name. The professor led the charge. He flashed his badge at the young college student working behind the counter. We need to access the basement. I know the way. There's no need to worry. Standard police procedure. She stared at us with wide eyes, but nodded and pointed to the staircase in the back of the fragrant shop. I wasn't entirely sure why she was surprised. Thomas, the professor's lead deputy, and his family owned the shop. I flashed her a three-fingered wave as we descended the basement stairs. A musty smell hit my nose. Juliet coughed. The dim light made it imperative to watch my footing. The cellar had an old brick floor. It wasn't even as big as my office. And maybe it was just me, but it felt like the walls were closing in on us. I've never been a fan of tight spaces. Lance, can you hold my flashlight? The professor had turned on an amber light above that was coated in years of dust and cobwebs. I took the light and positioned it on the wall of antique safe deposit boxes. The professor tried the key in each box in the top row. No luck. He moved on to the second row. Again, the key didn't open any of the boxes. We were down to the last row. I could feel Juliet's shallow breathing next to me when the professor reached the fifth box and the key clicked. "It worked!" she exclaimed. "Oh, ye of little faith, did you doubt me?" I asked. "Never, how could I?" she teased. The professor froze. He left the key in the rusty box and turned to face us. "A word of caution before we proceed. Whatever is revealed in the box stays with us, understood?" I gave him my most solemn nod. "Of course," Juliet nodded. "Not a word about what we find can be uttered to anyone. The contents of this box could be directly linked to a murder. So I want your complete and utter assurance that neither of you will share a single detail about whatever we discover here." "I swear upon the bard's grave," I made an X over my heart. The professor scowled. "Lance, I understand that you have a flair for the dramatic, but I couldn't be more serious. If I can't trust that you'll be able to hold this information under lock and key," he tapped the edge of the key for effect, "I'll have to ask you to leave." "No, seriously." I inhaled deeply and squared my shoulders. "Swearing upon Shakespeare's grave is no joke. You have my word." "He's not kidding," Juliet backed me up. "But if you want us to leave, we don't need to be here." I kicked her. Why would she possibly say that? We had to be here. We were getting to the best part. The professor cleared his throat. "Thank you both for your assurances. I will hold you to them, and I quite prefer to have you here for reasons that I am not at liberty to explain at the moment." He placed his hand on the key again. "Shall we?" With that, he turned the key and carefully removed the box. "Well, this is unexpected," he said, holding up the box for Juliet and me to see. What's in the box? What could it be? Okay, so you have two assignments this week. Number one, of course, is what is in the box? What mysterious evidence is going to be hiding in this antique safety deposit box in the basement of a rose by any other name? I have no idea, but I know that you are going to have some great ones. Your second assignment for the week is, why does the professor want Juliet and Lance there? It's quite a surprise to have him actually invite both of them onto the crime scene and include them in his investigation. And it appears that he has a reason for that. So what is the reason? And actually, you have a third task. If you've been following along this week, I gave you a bonus assignment on Wednesday, which was to come up with a delicious coffee, tea, mimosa, some sort of yummy drink that we're gonna serve at our brunch. You have until Sunday evening to get those suggestions in, and you have until the end of day Sunday to get in your 2 new plot point ideas. I am gonna be on pins and needles to see what you come up with. Thank you so much for participating in this fun project with me. I can't believe how much fun I'm having, and I hope you are too. With that, as always, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel and click the bell to get notified whenever I share new videos or pages in our story. And happy plotting!